My name is Lisl Lewis, and I've been associated with the Barbados International Business Association, or BIBA as we like to call it, for a number of years now. I am going to say that I probably first joined the executive committee in 2004, 2005, and stayed in for my sins. Was president 2008 to 2009. As some of you will remember, that was smack dam in the middle of the financial crisis, the global financial crisis, which affected us pretty heavily and strongly here in Barbados. It was a difficult year, no question. Of all of the years that I could have chosen to have ended up in the president's chair, that was a very hard one. The government of Barbados at the time reactivated the social partnership in a very strong way. The social partnership, as you may remember, was set up in 1991 and had been in place, really since that time. But it was invoked again in response to the financial crisis. And of course, BIBA had a strong part to play as part of the private sector. The social partnership being a partnership between government, unions, and the private sector. So I remember that year as being one that I spent a lot of time in meetings with various government and other private sector and union agencies, being called to meetings at Sherburn, at the cabinet, at very short notice, a fair amount of time spent waiting in corridors, etc., etc. An awful lot of dialogue. The end product of that year ended up being a short and medium term fiscal strategy, which, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of years ago got dusted off pretty much in the exact same format that we came up with at that time. And strangely enough, a lot of it's still very relevant. I recall that year standing up at a financial conference that the central bank had called. It might have been the first one of its sort. And saying as my closing remarks, for heaven's sake, people, don't let's be standing here 1 year later wondering why we are no longer talking about international business in Barbados, because it has all gone. I've actually worked in international business since 1996, so I've got I'm long in the tooth. I've got a few years in the sector. And I can remember in 1995 when the US IRS changed their rules and the SRLs packed up and went home literally in 3 months. It happened again in 2014 when the CRA changed the rules and a lot of the private Canadian family banks packed up and went home within 6 months. I lost my job at that time. The sector is so important for us here in Barbados in terms of the people that it employs, the foreign exchange that it generates, and I honestly wish that we as a nation, and I mean that collectively, all parts of the social partnership, could pay more attention to it. I think that volunteering at BIBA and getting involved with the sector and its members has been a hugely rewarding experience for me. I'm still involved as the chair of the BIBA charity, which was formed in 2010. BIBA would not exist and could not survive without its volunteer members. Everyone that works with BIBA, except our select group at the BIBA offices, are unpaid volunteers who give up. They've got full-on professional careers and jobs in other, and family lives in other areas, and they give up their free time to get involved and to help out. And I think that's the key thing. The international business sector is such an important part of our world here in Barbados. I think that it's gratifying to feel like you have a voice and input to make. And of course, if you're not part of something, then really how are you moving it forward? I can remember from my earliest days at BIBA, Hendy talking about the need for an international business week, a week that was dedicated to activities that highlighted the Barbados international business sector. He was always talking about how important it was for people at the grassroots level to understand what our sector was and what it's about and how it contributes to Barbados. When it came to the year that I was president, I said, absolutely, Hendy, let's do it. Let's stop talking about it and let's just do it. And the reality is we try it, and if it doesn't work, then that's fine, but at least we've given it a whirl. So here we are. Obviously it did work. I think that it has had an impact on Barbadians' understanding and perception of international business in Barbados. A lot of the week involves outreach to the schools, to the university. There's a career showcase, there's school discussions, there's a public discussion forum, and they're all free. There are many things that local Barbadians can come and take a look at and get involved in, and I think that, you know, there's always room for improvement, but after 10 years we are probably getting something right. Yes, I absolutely think that BIBA is still relevant, and I think that there is room for growth and improvement in the way that we stay relevant. I think that there are probably two main thrusts to what I want to say about that. The first is, it is really important for us to continue to be a coherent and cohesive voice for the sector. The second comment that I would make is that it is important for BIBA's board to be attracting high-level executives within the international business sector. That's something that I think we have lost focus on a little bit in the last couple of years, and that could be because of a lack of interest, which again then speaks to the need to educate and also prove our relevance and importance and why it is important to get involved and stay involved. From quite humble roots in a bar on the South Coast to the organization that we know and love now, it has been an amazing 20 years for BIBA. And I think looking forward to the next 20, I can only see great things, bigger and better things, more challenges on the horizon. And I look forward to being part of the group who are going to rise to that and continue to keep the international business sector relevant and dynamic in Barbados.